set an infection and probably die. A month is absolutely most.
Jaysh al-Mahdi is running from. They cannot run fast enough away from him. They can run as fast as they not, but they're not going to beat our bullets.
Thank you, Mr.
I promise.
Resolve it or I'll fix it. You hear that? Okay, I'm gonna go to the Vic and get the
A typical end to a long day in Baghdad for Battle Company. A non-stop day in 100-degree heat that has seen all three phases of the modern three-block war. One of many these soldiers will spend in Baghdad as part of the troop surge.
Urban combat or counterinsurgency is a people-intensive operation.
Colonel G.I. Wilson served 2 tours in Iraq and has written extensively on modern insurgencies.
War and conflict is about people. As John Boyd said, people fight wars, machines don't. So that when you're dealing with an insurgency, you need to be in and amongst the people working with them. You don't go in, do a raid, and then leave, and they're on their own. They have to provide their own security. You have to help them establish a secure environment. At the community level, you're getting people interacting with people. Instead of blowing through the area at 60 miles an hour in an up-armored Humvee, you now have people patrolling areas, talking to the residents, and working with them, and developing relationships and gaining their trust. It's all about, for them, it's all about being outside the wire.
One of the key communities is the West Rashid district of Baghdad, Iraq. Bordered by Baghdad International Airport on the west and the infamous Route Irish on the north, it is ground zero in the turf war between Sunni and Shia. Baghdad residents call it the arena.
My Battle Company area of operation is very complex, like a lot of other AOs and AO Black Line. It's dynamic as far as it's Sunni and Shia as a mix. There's some very strongholds of Sunni population, the last of the Mohicans, so to speak, in the area of operations. And then there's a large Jaysh al-Mahdi population among the Shia population.
Captain Brian Ducote leads Battle Company of the 1st Battalion, 28th Infantry Regiment, a unit that is part of the surge.
So AO Battle has a little bit of both. Has a mixture of Shia, Sunni, Jaysh al-Mahdi, probably Al-Qaeda, and other groups that just do not want what's best for this country.
In West Rashid, Shia and Sunni factions are waging a battle for real estate, control of the black market economy, and the Wasta.
After you've been oppressed for so long, your reaction to freedom, your reaction to this type of environment, to chaos, is to say, well, I better get control or get chaos before I end up like I did before. I better get control amidst all the hectic environment, and that control being the Wasta, being the power, get as much as I can, because this is my only chance, or I'll end up like I did before, which is essentially repressed.
Adding fuel to the fire is the Arab tradition of the blood debt.
What if these two guys' mothers got hurt? What if their mother got hurt? We would have created 2 more fighters.
It's gone on for thousands of years in the Middle East, and it's all about honor. And then when you besmirch somebody's honor, they feel compelled to retaliate or get revenge or have a blood feud. In other words, you've harmed me, you've hurt me, so that gives me a license to hurt you. And becomes very cyclical, and it keeps going and going and going and going. It just grows and grows and grows.
Edward Gibbon, in Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, had the best description of the blood debt. Every man, at least every family, was the judge and avenger of his own cause. The interest and principal of the bloody debt are accumulated. The individuals of either family lead a life of malice and suspicion, and 50 years may sometimes elapse before the account of vengeance be finally settled.
It's part of the culture, whether it's good or bad, doesn't matter. It's part of their culture and the way things are done and they operate. And it can make things very, very complex and very, very difficult.
The violence between Sunni and Shia did not start immediately after the fall of Saddam's regime. The so-called civil war had to be inflamed.
The Al-Qaeda certainly took advantage of the culture and what was going on in the culture. And things were relatively quiet at first because we were there, and of course we were seen as the occupiers. We had invaded Iraq, so we were sort of the common enemy for a while, and the attention was focused on us. After things sort of settled down and Al-Qaeda's agenda became known, next thing they were pitting the Sunni against the Shia, because it's to Al-Qaeda's advantage to have things remain chaotic in Iraq. As long as Iraq is festering and there's lots of turmoil, Al-Qaeda doesn't care if they run up the casualties on their side or somebody else's, just as long as there's lots of casualties and there's lots of chaos. It works out well for them either way.
In Baghdad, it is still common to find Shia living next to Sunni, living next to Catholic. But once the killing started, the blood debt gripped the nation.
I get a lot of my intelligence from sources who say, yes, I have a picture of him being someone we're after. Well, how do you have a picture of him? We used to be friends. He had dinner with my father and my family, and now he's kidnapped my father. He used to hang out with me and my brothers, and he's killed my brother. He would come over to my house, and we would go do things together. Now he's threatening to come over to here with, his armed elements and shoot up my house. The cycle of violence. I cannot pretend to say when the cycle of violence started, but I do know it's a cycle. It's a cycle of revenge and hate that happens, with a kid, 19-year-old kid or 18-year-old kid, essentially seeing his father with, desecrated in the most horribly unimaginable way. His reaction to that, in some cases, is to hurt or kill as many people from the other side, in his opinion, as possible for the rest of his life. And that's in his culture acceptable. Not to say anything bad about the culture. I'm saying in his mind, his culture says okay, then that's okay to do that.
Captain Ducote's mission in Baghdad, and the larger mission of the Surge, is to stem the violence by moving day by day, hour by hour, through the modern three-block war. The three-block war describes how in modern warfare, infantrymen must be able to work with friendly forces, civilians, and local politicians, and then engage in combat operations, all within the space of 3 city blocks. In the first block of the three-block war, U.S. soldiers have to work with friendly forces, like the Iraqi police, which requires a personal touch.
Developing relationships. I think it's just like business. It's developing relationships. So you can do things on handshakes, you can do things on trust.
At best, the Iraqi police are merely corrupt. At worst, they are an active enemy.
That's why it's so important to develop these relationships and work with particularly the Iraqi National Police. It's a tenuous situation. As you can tell, when they're sitting at the table, you look around the room, there's a lot of tension there. There's a lot of mistrust there. But you have to get beyond that. And you have to set the example and being able to work through that.
Even if friendly Iraqi forces are generally reliable, they are not immune to the blood debt. And in the summer heat, the violence boils over quickly.
We're going to
get the officer in charge right now? You make sure they need to understand that although they're angry, they just lost some comrades. They can't just indiscriminately shoot a house.
This is a Sunni area nicknamed the General's Neighborhood. Dozens of retired military officers live in the area.
I'll ask for your patience. I'll ask for your family's patience.
Across the street is an Iraqi police compound. Someone threw a bomb in the back of a police truck. The police opened fire. Now, Captain Ducote must find the perpetrator and stem the violence before it escalates.
Listen, just like if they were to think every one of you are Jaysh al-Mahdi, it doesn't help to think that everyone here is Al-Qaeda. They say like this. That means that no. I know that you're not all Jaysh al-Mahdi. And over there I see that not everyone thinks that these people are all Al-Qaeda. Listen, you're Iraqis. And listen, you're falling for what the rest of the world wants you to do, to fight each other. That is exactly what they want you to do. It does. Hold on. It does no good. It does no good to drive by and shoot a house. Okay. Especially one that provides you tea and food and makes you be your friend. Tell him, because you want to wait. Show us the house. Let's go. Let's go. How do we?
Hey, first one, what about going in through a back entrance?
The soldiers move through the area, looking for the perpetrator or his Confederates.
We're going to need bolt cutters and go in the front. We aren't getting through here. There's a house in between those two.
Few leads are developed, but the grievances of the blood dead are aired. Shia Jaysh al-Mahdi fighters have been launching 60 and 120 millimeter mortars on the Sunni neighborhood.
82.
This Irani.
Our Iran?
Irani.
Okay.
Sakht Iran. Sakht Iran.
Apparently they had received a mortar attack, 60 millimeter mortars, and he was a bit too close. Cops were shrapnel to the legs, to the arms, and stuff like that.
Sergeant James Sutton is the company's senior medic.
And as soon as we walked in, we saw the guy right away. He was sitting up against the wall, had obvious wounds on his legs, but they had already been bandaged. When I put down my aid bag, I went for the one that I thought that appeared to be the worst, and that was the one on his upper left leg. It appeared to still be bleeding. The other ones weren't bleeding anymore, but that one appeared to be the worst. Usually they're scared on what we're doing, why we're doing it, and they try to they think things are a lot worse than they are. But they're thankful, but they're scared. You could tell some sort of infection had already started in. It had flies all around it and stuff. I mean, it was bad. We cleaned it the best we could, but with the conditions he lives in, I mean, it's only going to get worse.
Captain Ducote and Sergeant Sutton offered to take the man to a hospital. He refused.
Because him being Sunni, if he's afraid if he'll go to the hospital that he'll be killed.
He is Sunni and does not have the faith, whether it's warranted or unwarranted, does not have the faith in his government quite yet to feel like if he left his area, he would come back alive.
Part of the fear is real. Another part is imagined.
Very oral culture. You know, these guys talk about how bad the checkpoints are and they're kidnapping. But yet I know they leave those checkpoints every day, a lot of them. So if someone gets picked up, sometimes for a legitimate reason, like he's wanted on some sort of Iraqi security forces list. He gets picked up. In the eyes of the people, he's kidnapped. I had a mother call the neighborhood area council, reported to us that, hey, my son's been kidnapped. Well, hold on, let's look at where's the truth in this? And we called, made some phone calls, and said, no, he's at this hospital. He wasn't at the hospital that she thought, therefore he was kidnapped. It's not the case. He's not kidnapped, he's at this location.
You offered to get him up on the highway.
Yes.
But he still said
no. Said no thanks.
How long do you think his leg will last?
With their conditions, a month is absolutely most. He don't get it fixed within then, he'll set an infection and probably die.
Another account in the blood debt to be settled. The police settled their blood debt later in the afternoon.
This is where we found him under the cardboard. He was shot 7 times in the front, and then 1 shot to finish him off in the head with a 9mm. And we're just picking up the 9mm brass now so we can see if we can link it to a weapon system, whether it's National Police ammunition or somebody else's ammunition. So they shot him several times after he was on the ground.
Yeah, I think 15 bullets he shoot. Because he have pistol clock. You shoot him in the pistol clock here.
Okay. I saw him with I saw 7 entrance wounds, but I didn't check him, I didn't roll him over. Okay?
Yet another account in the blood debt to be settled.
This police patrol was essentially attacked by these homemade explosive devices and killed 4 members of the police. In response to that, there was a crackdown on the area, and the result was there was a dead body inside that mahalla, inside that area, and there were reports of people missing. I want to know how he ended up dead in the street.
The deceased, is he a known bad guy?
He was not a known bad guy, but he was someone that we were, I'd say, after for questioning. We had nothing on him per se, but we did know that he wasn't from the area. You know, people said, well, maybe he's just coming here to help protect the area, because everyone needs protection, and he's just a young guy, not associated with any terrorist group, but he's just there for protection. Okay, someone fits the mold for something else that we say, okay, kind of raises a red flag in our eyes, so we were after him. Bad guy or not, regardless. I want to know how this happened.
Part of the first block of the 3-block war is holding friendly forces accountable for their actions.
And when something happens, like when they found the body with multiple gunshot wounds, the captain said, I want to know who did this. You know, they were picking up casings, gathering forensics evidence. He was going to find out who did that and who was responsible. When people find out that there's somebody that's going to hold them accountable and responsible for their actions, things start changing a little bit.
The second block of the 3-block war, dealing with civilians, blends seamlessly in Iraq.
That's good if it's busy.
The Ferat Market. It recently opened up for business again.
Well, I'll tell you that wasn't open for a long time. People weren't doing that. They were a very smaller scale. So we had people coming up and thanking us.
20mm mortars, 82mm mortars, 60mm mortars. We've got all of them. The rest of the people. Jaysh Ahmadi is running from them. They cannot run fast enough away from them.
Thank you.
They can run as fast as they not, but they're not going to beat our bullets. They're going to go down.
Thank you, Mr.
I promise. Security first.
Thank you.
Captain Ducote moves through the market, working the crowd like a politician.
A good company commander, he tends to try to be a mayor, a politician, a fireman, a police officer, a marriage counselor, urban planner. He tries to be all these things to influence the situation in non-kinetic ways.
I know. Right now, we're working Jaish Ahmadi and Jihad. That's gotten a lot better. We have contracts. Your council is putting in contracts to make this area, to build a hospital, to build a market. We get contracts, we'll make that. That'll get better. And the checkpoint, we're going to go after as well. You guys will work every drop of sweat.
This is the new face of the Israel neighborhood.
That's right. إبراهيم زين شلونك ساعتك يا إبراهيم شلونك ساعتك good زين الحمد لله
بالله أشكرك عمو.
الحمد لله كل زين yeah okay can you see him? I know, I see him.
Occasionally, the conversation turns tactical.
وكانوا موجودين بموضوع الطحين كانوا الاشخاص واقفين يمي.
They were present when
المشكله اللي صارت يم الجامع ذكرنا مع الطحين.
Okay.
That's the problem. You see him.
I know, but I see them.
And they
all it takes is someone to say, "Sir, that's the one who threatens us." That's it. So I know. But he's got to describe him. He's got to describe him. He has a mustache right down here.
I have a good idea. Yes. I have a good idea.
People fight wars, not machines. And company commanders are there where they have to interact with the people. And a good company commander will be a master communicator. He'll be good at developing relationships. And as a result of that, he's able to collect a certain amount of information and get feedback. And he's able to influence.
Influence by company commanders at the community level is what will determine the success or failure of the surge.
The success of it, 100% rests on the shoulders of the company commanders.
Company commanders, like Captain Brian Ducote.
He's, I guess, what I call a new breed of company commanders.
Lieutenant Colonel Patrick Frank commands the 128 Infantry Battalion, which has responsibility for Baghdad's West Rashid district.
Everyone that meets Brian Ducote likes him, which makes him extremely effective on the battlefield out here. There's not an Iraqi he meets that doesn't bond with him instantly.
Nearly every company commander in Iraq previously served a tour as an infantry platoon leader.
We are very lucky in the Army right now to have a group of company commanders that most of them have been in combat before, either in Afghanistan or in Iraq. They're some of the most seasoned leaders I think you're going to see across the battlefield, and it really resides in that company level leadership.
It takes, very passionate, dedicated people to operate in that environment.
You guys will work every drop of sweat.
I've heard you say this a bunch of times. It's worth every drop of sweat.
It is.
Why?
Because it is. These people have gone through generation after generation of, like I said, chaos, hate, revenge, you name it. And they are almost controlled in many ways by fear. And that's a shame. It is a shame. People do not deserve to live like that. These kids do not deserve to live like that.
Many of us feel that way. I'm not so sure that's just unique to Brian, but the fact that he served there before, and when he left there, we all felt very positive about what we all had accomplished there. He especially felt good because of the performance of the Iraqi security forces in the January 2005 elections, the first elections, democratic elections in Iraq. We all left there on a high. And I think that similar to others who have returned from our old unit, there was a feeling that, wait a minute, we had this about right before. We can get it that way again because it's not about us, it's about the Iraqis. So it is worth it. And I just think that he gets it. I think that you'll see that that feeling tracks also through a guy like General Petraeus, MNFI commander, because he was there also when it looked like we were just about there. And then things turned around in a different direction after the Golden Mosque bombing in February 2006. And we all know that given time, Iraq can be stable. The question now is will we be allowed to have that time?
Although so many people feel differently about being here, I know a lot of my soldiers and myself feel that we are doing something good for a future generation. And it is worth every drop of sweat.
On this day, the soldiers of Battle Company are sweating through meetings with the elected neighborhood councils. The company commanders are the de facto chairman of the councils in their area of operations.
These people are elected and empowered. So if something goes wrong in that area, the first thing I'm doing is saying, Ahmed or Muhammad or Jalal, what is going on? Why is this happening? What are you doing to fix it? And holding them accountable. And they'll fix it. They will fix it. Most problems, Iraqi problems, are best solved by Iraqis. When they need your help, they'll tell you.
Helping Iraqis resolve disputes on their own is a key part of Ducote's position, as seen in this dispute over the distribution of food commodities.
Is this official or just hearsay?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking him to find out. It's official to both the North and South. Both the North representatives from the North and South councils say that it is true.
المجلس الشمالي والجنوبي أعضاءهم يقولون هو هذا الحكي صدق.
Please does he know Sheikh Agwa?
تعرف شيخ أكبر؟
شيخ عواد؟ أي عبد.
He knows what's going on, and Lieutenant Colonel Hadi from 131 National Police knows what's going on.
الشيخ يعرف ايش يصير والأكيد هادي يعرف.
So he can get a hold of them and resolve it, or I'll fix it.
إذا أنت تتصل بيهم وتسوي هالأشياء تحل.
I'd rather Iraqis fix it, because if I fix it, I'm going to get the flour and taking it and dividing it up. I do not need to get involved. I think his leadership will be able to get it done.
Sometimes resolving disputes takes creative subterfuge. Another council had been complaining of banditry at checkpoints controlled by this council.
I want to talk about something very important, because our satellites and our technology have the ability to do things that I'm not at liberty to discuss. But we have picked up conversations and threats that people have told people that are coming in to go to the south. I replayed the tape to make sure that I heard and saw the right thing, and I'm convinced that someone from the north was trying to influence an individual not to go to the south to provide certain services.
Ducote does not have any tapes of conversations recorded by a spy satellite. But the members of the council do not know that.
Captain Ducote, he's a really good street cop, because he knows exactly how to play this game. He's probably a pretty good poker player on top of that. But he knew what the problem was. Instead of trying to pin down a specific individual, he was trying to solve the problem and put them, all on report.
I asked their assistance in all of this. This is something we cannot tolerate. The days of threats are over.
التهديدات والعمليات الما شريفة انتهت.
It is time that we are starting a new chapter in the history of Farad, a chapter of peace.
احنا هسه نبدي في صفحة جديدة من صفحات الفرات، صفحات السلم والتعايش.
We are not going to sleep until Al-Qaeda and Jaish al-Mahdi are running, even at night.
So they figured, undoubtedly, they figured that he knew more than they thought he did, and they didn't want to find out what else he knew. So it's not only the third eye, he just knows the psychology of the culture and human beings to a certain point. He's a really good street cop.
The banditry stopped the next day. It is through working with the public and elected leaders on commercial and public works projects that the battle in West Rashid may be won.
The knockout punch here in northwestern Rashid is going to be, can the Black Lions provide essential services? Can we provide the enduring economic platform that this area requires?
So back to the market. People are starting to feel more secure, and I think people are starting to come out and do things. I like hearing about electricity and hey, my sewage needs fixed. That's a good sign, because it means that they're feeling more secure to be thinking about that. If you're not thinking about mortars falling on you, then yeah, maybe your sewage is the biggest issue you have. That's great. Sewage is the biggest issue they got. I'm okay with that. We can help with that too.
The meetings last for hours, but meetings and politicking at the markets are only one facet of dealing with Iraqi civilians.
We did a lot of good training. All right, sorry. Salam alaikum, Shlonik. Habibi. Maku.
Ducote's cell phone rings more than a dozen times a day.
Received a phone call from a local national who essentially said that through his sources, or actually through the insurgents or terrorists, that they've made a phone call to him. We've killed an individual, a female, and her 2 children, and we've dumped the body at this location. Disclosed the location to him. What is the name? What's bridge? He calls me and essentially says, "Can you help?" Male who was shot. She still has 2 of her young children with her. And what I can get from the phone call and the broken English is that it is a checkpoint between High Jihad and Amaria, and Cedar is that road that's between those 2, High Jihad and Amaria. So I want to make sure to see if investigate that on checkpoint 540. I'm going to go get an interpreter and get the exact location of where they are so they can speak our language in terms of our graphics. But if you could head out that way to the east, that'd be excellent. Get you guys moving, and I'll confirm the exact location. It's outside of our area of operations, but you know, just the sight of a dead mother with her 2 children around, obviously is going to spring any good-natured person into action. So we pushed to patrol that location in Overwatch because it's dangerous for our soldiers as well, because insurgents know that we would respond to something like that, or to anything really, and booby trap it, or overwatch it with snipers, or booby trap the actual body with an IED, or booby trap the route. So we pulled Overwatch at that location and did not see anything at this point.
So yesterday there is a female with 2 kids going to Al-Amriya to bring some stuff. Yes, she's homeless.
Where is she?
And they kidnapped her, and today they called her in. They told her we're going to find her body in Al-Amriya.
Where?
Behind the bridge, just when we cross the bridge, on the main road.
Where the National Police Headquarters is, on Cedar?
No, behind it.
We followed things down to the root level. It's no longer acceptable. Yeah, there's a body over there. We have enough troops on the ground to say no. Who did this? Why'd they do this? Who called you? When did they call you? Do you know who called you? Where did they call you from? Why are they doing this? You're tracking things down to the very root level, and then aggressively attacking them from whatever angle we get. And it's like, wow, the Americans never had the opportunity really to follow through with such, vigor to the very root level of some of these issues, and that's what we're trying to do. Devil 5, Battle 6.
Just Battle 6, Devil 6, over.
Devil 6, Battle 6, Roger. Just reconfirmed or refined the intelligence that we had. It's checkpoint 540, the one that's just where Cedar and Irish intersect, break. The way they described the location was if you continue to go to the north over the checkpoint, on the far side is where you'll find the body. It's actually a female body with 2 small children that are supposedly with her. Break.
Those children come by.
My initial instinct would be that it's an ambush, either with snipers or some sort of baited ambush, so you need to proceed with caution. Get as far as you can within our sector and then overwatch the body if you possibly can. We need to coordinate with 2-1 so they can move to that location and take care of it.
Battle 6, Battle 6, acknowledge. Are there the 2 children? Were they 2 children's bodies, or just the children that were standing next to the body of the female?
One female, no children? Devil 6, Battle 6, Roger. You got to confirm it, but right now they're saying there's no children. That's just as it's coming in. It's just the 1 female. Break. Again, my initial concern was for the safety of those kids. It's that's my initial concern. Obviously, your safety as well. It's out of our AO, so just overwatch the body. We'll get coordinated with 2-1 to pass that one off. Over.
Devil 6, Roger. We're at the checkpoint 53 now, heading east on Furniture Road at this time.
Devil 6, Battle 6, Roger. Okay, I'm coordinated with Black Line X-ray now. Nothing further on.
Modern technology has added a new dimension to the battlefield, a cellular battle space.
You get a lot of calls.
I do, daily.
You your number a lot.
I do. I think it's important.
Why do you do that?
Well, primarily, this job in this environment is so complex, but the way to simplify it is to receive multiple reports about the same thing, and then you can confirm the truth. If it's coming from 2 different sources, 3 different sources who do not necessarily, who have not collaborated their story or whatever, their report, you can see the truth. It begins to become very clear as to what is true and what is not true, what's fabricated, what's exaggerated, and what's not. So in this environment, anything like that is very helpful.
You notice that most Iraqis had 2 cell phones on them. So that is one of the ways they communicate is with a cell phone. So, so the captains figured that out too. And he says, well, they communicate from cell phone. Maybe I better have one too. Because if, maybe one of them might just want to call me and give me some information. And also the nice thing about the cell phone, you can relate some very, very private personal information very anonymously with a cell phone. And you have distance, so you can go somewhere and pass that information on, and then you can just close the cell phone up. And so there's a psychological aspect of communicating information by a cell phone or transmitting it.
It is a very successful tactic that we've been employing across the battlefield in talking both to our friends and to our enemies.
Captain Ducote has spoken with several terrorists on his Iraqness cell phone.
I have. Mm-hmm.
What's that like?
It's odd. You don't want to, you never negotiate. I'm not ever compromising with, our values, our integrity, or our mission to capture an HVT.
Is he calling up an airplane? Is he calling up a computer? No, he's calling up a person. He's making contact. He's dragging somebody out of cyberspace or cell phone space into his physical space, which is something that Commander Sid Heal of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department has talked about for years, how to drag somebody out of their cyberspace or their mental space into your physical space so that you can deal with them. And that's what they're doing. I mean, it's a lot of street cop techniques.
Talking to a guy like that on the phone, to me is trying to connect on a personal level with them to get them either A, turn themselves in, or B, make it easier for us to capture them.
The terrorists usually know who is calling them up.
And when we're provided human information, tips, we're not bashful about calling people up and asking for information. So this particular individual gave us the phone number for individual he considered to be a Jaish al-Mahdi leader. And we're uncertain of the reliability of that. So we called the individual and we talked to him several times that day. And he was not bashful at all in telling us that he was a Jaish al-Mahdi member. He said he was not an active militant member, but he did support the organization. And he says, I definitely know who you are. You are the Asad Aswad, which means the Black Lions. So again, we know we're having effects on the enemy when he knows exactly what organization is pursuing him and his other insurgent friends in the streets of Baya.
Very old-fashioned law enforcement techniques. I mean, you get a guy that's going to roll, or another guy thinks he's going to roll, and they're emotionally invested in the situation, and they know they're going down. I've watched police officers. I've watched them really old-timers, solve homicides without even leaving their desk. All right? And the next thing, the guy's showing up there, and they're booking him.
Assalamu alaikum. Sonic. It's good. No. Okay. 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 White. Okay. Okay. Is that it? Okay. Okay. Great. Okay. No problem. That's why we're here. Okay. That's. Thank you very much. It's very kind. Masalama. Infamala. Love you. Okay. Is this still real?
What was that?
That was a phone call saying thank you so much for responding. We really appreciate it. For helping us and whatever.
Most of the tactics of the three-block war in Baghdad are less electronic and more concrete. One tactic literally involves concrete blocks. Every night, trucks loaded with concrete barriers and Army heavy equipment operators move through Baghdad building checkpoints in gated communities. Elected community leaders work with the coalition on the checkpoints to be built.
The gated community concept gives you the opportunity to determine who's supposed to be there and who's not. It has a tendency to keep the bad guys out and the good folks in.
In the 1950s, the British were fighting a communist insurgency in Malaya. One of the tactics that won the war was building hundreds of gated communities to separate the insurgents from the people. Mao Zedong said the insurgent swims among the people like a fish. Gated communities make it harder for the insurgent to move from neighborhood to neighborhood. The coalition isn't the only force building checkpoints in gated communities. Throughout West Rashid, the Iraqi residents build their own gated communities.
What it does, it provides actually provides a sense of security. In other words, you have a neighborhood where everybody knows everybody, and they know who's supposed to be there.
Usually, the gated communities are divided by sect. In one mixed Sunni-Shia neighborhood, Captain Ducote made a bold move.
What he did, which I found to be very interesting, is he built a wall around the neighborhood, which forced the Sunnis and Shias to be in that neighborhood. So he said either you're going to work together or you're going to just all kill each other.
The owner of this house, his name is Kamal. He's in Jordan now.
Okay, so what are they doing here?
Another tactic used effectively by the British in Malaya was census data collection and ID cards. Day and night across Iraq, soldiers and Marines go house to house, apartment to apartment, building a directory.
It's important that you know that you're dealing with people who are literally supposed to be, who are the rightful people to be in that neighborhood, or they're from that family, that subculture.
The census takes names, ages, occupations, cell phone numbers, and addresses matched to a digital photo. The data is then used to determine who can get into a gated community. Then the data is reconfirmed on subsequent patrols.
That fixes people to a particular community. They're not moving from one area to another, and you have a good idea who's really supposed to be there. It's important to know that. When people say they live there, you've got to go back and check to make sure that they actually do. You've got to go around and knock on doors and write down names and find out who was there, and go back and say, last time you said Dawood lived here, there's no Dawood now, so what's going on here?
When it is harder for the insurgents to hide in plain sight, it is harder for them to operate. When they are denied movement in and out of communities, they are left with only a few sanctuaries. The proximity to the Iraqi population and relationships lead to a flood of intelligence.
This is a battle of management of information here. You will get more information on insurgents than you ever care to get, and it's a matter of picking out the correct bits of information that you can action on and have effects in your battle space.
Which leads to the third block of the three-block war: traditional, kinetic combat operations. At the end of a day working with the Iraqi police, meeting with civilians and local politicians, Captain Ducote's battle company is going kinetic.
A couple times a week, the way the cards fall and just the way things work, it's event after event after event after event.
An informant dressed in U.S. Army fatigues is leading a platoon from battle company to a weapons cache and a terrorist cell.
Number one, he has something to lose at that point. All right, if it's a setup, if it's an ambush and he's wrong, he's going to die too. In other words, he's being held accountable and responsible for his information that he's providing. And you wanted to do something about it? Okay, we're going to act upon that information. If you're right, no one's ever going to know because you look just like one of us. If you're wrong, well, you're liable to get shot just like us. So that it's a great game to play. But there's nothing new there. I mean, you're making sure that the individual who's giving you information has something vested in this. In this particular case, the thing that he's vested in is his own well-being. And you take him along with you.
Clear.
The platoon has been moving non-stop since sunrise.
Clear back here.
With the heat, I mean, it's well over 100 degrees during the day. Plus, we were out all day yesterday, too. And you going into a house, you're entering a house to clear it of any threats. And then once you don't see the threat, then you're starting tearing rooms apart left and right, top to bottom, trying to find trying to think where would I hide some if I was an insurgent. And then along with the shooting that's starting to happen, and the adrenaline that's going, it drains you real quick. And by the second house, I was completely soaking wet with sweat.
We went on one patrol and we got pulled off another one, that one to go to react to another one. We were at a meeting. It was supposed to go a little longer. We had to run out of there because we thought we had a cache. A cache then turned into a small AQIZ cell, potentially Al-Qaeda. The reports are coming back here with an informant, picking up the informant, coming back here. None of that was planned.
No, it's a decision-making process it's not even a process. It's a decision-making experience that you learn to live with and operate on. You adjust your first decision with your last. I mean, you have to be able to adapt and being able to literally thrive on change. Because if you don't, I mean, you continue to do things the same way over and over again and become very, very predictable.
You saw us come back. We make a good plan, put some control measures into effect, make sure everyone understands their role, give assigned tasks and purposes for each unit, and then we move out to to conduct the mission.
The first cache yields scoped rifles used by snipers.
Whoa! You hear that?
Distraction fire.
We had gunfire one street over, a lot of it. Myself and one of my team leaders and the commander and our platoon leader were the first ones out of the gate trying to react to it. It wasn't affecting our guys out in the trucks, but we think it was the insurgents trying to draw our attention away from the cache so they can get back in and take it.
That house empty? No. You think that one is?
Yeah, this one's empty. The other one's empty.
Then we had also information that we needed to go check the house next door. So we went next door, that was completely abandoned. There was nothing but trash in there and a trapped dog when we first got in there.
I like dogs.
Door's locked.
Hey, this way.
Don't
shoot the dog. It's friendly.
Well, how'd the dog get it?
I don't know, sir.
Keep me away from the dog.
Hey, I was with you now. What?
There was a sewer cover right next to that, within a few feet. And we opened it up and we found the cache.
I got a bunch of grenades. Hey, 6. We got cache. Grenades, magazines, lots of rounds. Looks like some kind of a homemade explosive. Tac vest. Did we do that to that dirt? I did. Just now? Just now. Hey, we have something. Hey, sir, we got some grenades. We got mortar rounds. Looks like some kind of pipe bombs that I'm not willing to touch.
The soldiers keep searching.
Take pictures. Here. Give me
Sure you weren't meant to be a soldier?
That's freezing with a lock. Go to that corner. Corner of the building. Corner of the building. Hold fast right here.
Long after sunset, an explosive ordnance disposal team arrives.
All right, what you got here? Go ahead and explain what you got here. It's an OG7. Or, it's a small version of an RPG, high explosive.
Okay.
Propellant stick attaches to that, ejects the ejects that out of the RPG so the motor on this can light. It's like you got several. Got some fans, a couple of those, and 82mm water. Let's see here. Probably Iraqi made. Those are IED components.
Roger, we figured that out. That's why when we got that far, I stopped.
Yeah.
Said, hey, wait.
What I want to do, these look like triggers of some kind. You can see there's writing on them.
Roger.
There's a plug. Plug it in. 6-volt batteries. Yeah. Like I said, here's your trigger system right there.
Oh.
All it's missing is blasting caps to set it off. And you got the, those are Mark I grenades, British. But I'd have to take a look in my book. But nice little find.
There are many more days like this left for Battle Company. True to their motto, they will battle until the battle is won.
They're committed, they're passionate, they like the adrenaline rush. They feel, each one of them feels that they should be there, not somebody else. I mean, there's most of them acknowledge the fact that everybody has to be somewhere, and this is where they're supposed to be.
I love what I do, and I think that this is, everybody has their thing, and this is definitely mine. Being a soldier, being over here, this is my thing. This is my calling.
Although so many people feel differently about being here, I know a lot of my soldiers and myself feel that we are doing something good for a future generation. And it is worth every drop of sweat.
We all know that given time, Iraq can be stable. The question now is will we be allowed to have that time?